Welcome to the Guildford.Games Festival interview sessions. We have been snuck into Supermassive. We've probably been invited. We've been invited into Supermassive, and we're joined by Matthew and Ian. Hey guys, how you doing?
Hello.
Hello.
Okay, well, let's. I'm going to hand over to you to tell us who you are and what you do for Supermassive.
Yeah, I'm Matthew Tibbenham, and I'm a narrative designer at Supermassive, and I also do some performance directing with the actors. Cool. So yeah.
Very cool. Ian?
Well, my name is Ian Morrison, and I'm a advanced designer, so I do a little bit of everything. We work with animation, we work with the narrative people, we work with camera. Yeah, we do a little bit, fingers in many pies.
Yeah, as is often the way with
game-shaped
games.
pies.
Yeah,
yes.
that's it. Cool. Okay.
Pies.
Well, Ian, let's stick with you. Could you give us kind of a brief rundown of how you got into the games industry?
Yeah, it was strange. I used to be a college lecturer, and I would teach video filming, editing, radio work, stuff like that, and that was always my background, kind of film and TV. And it was when I was playing, I think, The Last of Us, and I was watching the cutscenes roll out, and I was realizing that this was now just as much a movie as it was a video game. And then I suddenly realized that I could then take those skills I had before as a filmmaker and adapt them into games. And I couldn't have probably picked a better company with which to do that. So
is this your very first games industry role?
This is my second.
Wowzers.
I ended up doing some quality assurance on a small indie game up in Dundee, because that's where I went to uni.
I see. There's a few studios around Dundee as well.
Dundee's kind of like the Guildford of Scotland.
Yeah.
Just the accent's stronger. That's all, yeah.
They'll love that. Oh, they'll love it. I can't wait to tell Dundee that they're the Guildford of Scotland.
I think they prefer the games Hollywood of Scotland. But,
we'll take that.
But,
no, that's fine.
That's,
fair enough.
But yeah, so and then from there, I applied to a whole bunch of different places, got the chance at Supermassive, and been here ever since.
Wowzers. And then that's, I mean, an interesting kind of aspect that you've brought to the conversation is so many studios now seem to be going down more of a passive to a certain, I mean, in the where you can be passive, I should say, as a player, where you can sit and watch someone else playing and feel like you're consuming a movie, essentially, that you're not kind of
one of the things
playing.
about the staff here is we have more than I've ever met before. We've got people from film and TV, we've got artists that do lighting, we've got camera artists, and half of them come from a games background, but we have quite a lot that come from the film background as well.
Awesome.
So Supermassive is kind of a nexus between those two mediums, I think.
The mashup is happening.
Kind of
Very
like myself,
cool.
I guess, right? Yeah. I also come from a film background.
Let's go.
So,
tell us about it, Matthew.
Yeah, I've worked in Hollywood, New York, worked on Sinister and Deliver Us from Evil. So these big Hollywood productions, and I've always played video games. I just never connected the two for some reason until kind of like Last of Us, Red Dead Redemption. And then it was actually virtual reality that got me into games because I got a master's at Goldsmiths in London. And got a job with Maze Theory. They do the Doctor Who VR game and the upcoming Peaky Blinders VR game, which I helped write and performance direct. So,
very cool.
And from there, coming to the obvious Supermassive that does cinematic horror games.
The Dundee of England,
exactly.
as we like to call it.
Yeah. So from London, I decided Guildford was the perfect place to go, because why not? Yeah.
Absolutely. And this is really, such a trend in the industry right now. We're finally seeing, from my perspective, that the games industry is actually being taken seriously as a creative medium that sits alongside movies and TV and to a certain extent music. But yeah, it's definitely starting to become more of a, even if you don't think you're a gamer, you could be a gamer type space, which is really cool.
Yeah, more people are gamers than they think. They're like, I'm not a gamer, but then
they'll sit on their phone and play video games without realizing.
That's my wife. She's constantly playing games, and she's like, well, I'm not a gamer. I don't play games. I'm like, you play more games than me.
Same with my mum. She's 70. She plays more games than I do. Doesn't call herself a gamer.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, let's pull it back to Supermassive. So, what do you think makes Supermassive such a special place to work?
I mean, apart from us.
That's what you need right here, guys. Yeah.
It's the people.
Yeah.
I mean, it sounds maybe corny and cliche, but it truly is the people. Because like I was saying with the design, I have to work with all the different departments. There is not one department here that I don't feel completely comfortable with going and talking to and working with. And everybody's all pulling in the same direction. We all want to put out the best kind of products and the best thing. And that kind of that ethos runs from top to bottom. I mean, you get the guys at the top, Pete and Joe. You know, we chat in the coffee room all the time. They chat with everyone. Everyone feels open, and it's just a good vibe. It's one of those things where it's kind of, you enjoy coming into work. You know, bunking off school was always the option. Bunking off work, there's no point.
It doesn't work. No, yeah, that's like, it. It's not enjoyable.
You would just be bored at home, and it's actually. And it's really just the people that you work with every day, the people that you meet every day, the people that you socialise in between those bits. Like that really is what makes Supermassive really good.
Yeah, and I would say the world-class people, like you're saying, just because you come to Supermassive and it's such a high quality of talent that we make these high-quality cinematic games that people know across the world. So I'm from Texas, a small town in Texas, and I was talking to my friend, oh, hey, I'm going to go work at Supermassive. And he's like, oh my gosh. And I was like, how do you know Supermassive? He's like, well, it's, I love their games. I'm like, oh my gosh, around the world, people know about it. So it's an exciting place to be.
And the really interesting thing that we're noticing is that people are studios like Supermassive are 100% making a name for themselves all over the world. But then when you line up all of the Guildford studios and you go to a video game player and say, look, all of these are made in the same town, they don't realise. Supermassive is 100% a huge addition to the collective voice that we want to be throwing up there to tell everyone that Guildford's really cool and come and see all of the cool stuff that's happening. So you guys are now a huge part of that. Thank you very much.
Well, you're welcome.
So what kind of stuff, especially considering, although I don't know exactly when you guys joined the team, but considering we've had things like lockdown, we've all been, distant and making video games when you need to express and communicate and discuss quite complicated, tiny little aspects of development. How has Supermassive as a studio ensured that you guys have felt connected when you are, even if you're just in two offices rather than all together?
Well, we have a hybrid model here, so we can pick 2 days a week where we're working remote. And yeah, sometimes it's a bit difficult. There's challenges, of course, but just with technology now, you can access all the files you need from your home. You can quickly get in touch with your team members. You can have meetings on Teams, Slack, whatever you need to do, Zoom. And it does, even though there's so many companies in Guildford, it's nice that we're not confined, because I actually live in London. And I come here 3 days a week, but then the other 2, I'm working from my home and getting as much or more done sometimes.
I noticed that too. Yeah, I don't know if I can ever go back, because I get so much done when I'm not being distracted by all of the cool things that are happening in the studio.
Exactly.
But kind of touching back to something Ian was saying, it is testament to that feeling, and it's not cheesy, sorry, just to say, great people. It's not cheesy at all. We've done a few of these interviews now. We're quite often finding that is the reason. Each studio has an amazing culture of its very own, and people are drawn towards whatever may be going on within the walls. But it's that aspect of it that would then contribute to being long distance and not feeling like there's a gap. It's the same as playing video games with your friends all over the world. If you work with a team, you really get on with them, you can have that kind of lovely, friendly vibe whilst working and have that communication aspect from, enjoying yourselves the rest of the time.
Yeah, I mean, I during the lockdown because I prefer working here. Because being a designer, we're always working with the other people. I just prefer doing it in person. Yeah. Everyone else may not when they see me coming, but I prefer.
That's why I spend 2 days a week.
Yeah. Just to get his Ian break. But I ended up back in Scotland when we were working from home, and the company sent everything to me. Brand new machine, monitors, the whole lot. So I effectively had the same office that I work in here at home, and we could just keep working. And like Matt was saying, when you got the Teams chats, the video calling, it was a really good workaround way of doing it. But I did enjoy getting back in here and meeting people face to face again.
And there will always be aspects of development that you need to see someone's face. As crazy as it sounds, just to understand, even if whether it's a playthrough or you're taking an idea to someone, or you're a programmer needing to speak to a designer and really pull out all of that information and essentially turn it into numbers.
The director's look of horror when he's seen what I've done to his scene. Yeah,
and you don't need to discuss it. Like, okay, let me go away.
I've seen
let
the
me
look.
work on this
I'm
again.
reading from that.
I'll be back in 5.
I'll change it.
And it's really hard to do the pub remote. You know?
Well, there's that.
Yeah, digital
there's
beers, not quite as good
tried
as
it, and
the
it was
stuff
just
on
nowhere
tap.
near
kind of, the camera falls and then it's over. It's just, okay, well,
And then
Matt's done for
sometime
the night.
later you do, and the night ends.
And I would
exactly.
say, definitely in studio, it's quite interesting how ideas sometimes don't get shared remotely. But when you're walking down the hall, you'll see that person and be like, oh, actually, I have this. It kind of sparks creativity, and it fuels something that might not have happened online. Now, it's really good that we try to create that. But when you're walking down the hallway and I see Ian, I go, oh, Ian, this great thing I have this great idea. I'm like, oh, yeah, that's good. I'm going to go do that real quick. And he'll be like, well, what about this? Where it might not have happened on Teams.
Yeah,
So,
that spontaneity sometimes you get in person,
Absolutely. And with game dev, always the mistakes that turn into wonderful, oh, wow, we could follow this avenue. We didn't even know this was possible. The way that it can all just kind of keep going is,
I meant to do that.
Together.
yeah.
Totally. It was in the plan all along.
That's what I say. I like to make a lot of mistakes.
It was in the document. I just didn't share it yet. Let me just...
That's why I try to
Fill
tell my
that
boss.
in now.
Okay, so what are you most excited about if we consider the kind of continuation of video games within Guildford, Supermassive being a big part of that? What do you see for the future of games?
Well, it's there's more and more important players starting to turn up around here as well. I mean, if you look back at the history of Guildford, there was a lot of smaller. See, I'm old enough to remember the bedroom developer days, right? And a lot of the early games had that kind of feel to it. But now you're getting some really high polished titles that are coming out of Guildford. And I think the more that happens, the more you start hearing about other places that, let's move that big IP into Guildford because they've handled these ones really well. So I think, if you look at some of the headlines and some of the thinking from studios around, that's just becoming more exciting. And then Supermassive itself, I mean, when I started, we used to do these Friday meetings, have the whole company in a room and listen to someone talk. Now we literally have to hire out a cinema to do the same thing. That's how much we've expanded since I've been here over the last 4 years. We've got some exciting stuff that we're not allowed to tell you about, but there's some really cool things heading down the pipe that I think are going to be pretty awesome.
I can imagine. Yeah. I can imagine, and I'm already scared. So thanks for that. Thanks.
And I was going to say, from my background, VR and AR, I just think it's an exciting, all the new technologies that are coming out. I don't think we're totally there yet, but with Quest and Vive, imagine just putting on glasses like you two are wearing right now, and your house is a haunted house, and you're playing a game against...
I'd never put my glasses on again.
You would just, So, I mean, 10 years down the line, what if Supermassive is bringing the haunted house story into your house?
And this is it, we're seeing AR especially, there are times when the whole games industry is on fire because of a certain bit of AR. Do you remember when we all got, which Nintendo?
Pokemon Go?
No, it was a Nintendo console. It must have been, oh my gosh, I'm not going to be able to remember. It was the
virtual reality, or
when they had the
Virtual Boy.
We'll cut this, don't worry. But they had the little AR cards, and you could hold up your little handhelds, whatever it was. I can't remember.
The cardboard, right?
On the PSP.
It was amazing, and everyone. I remember at Lionhead, everyone in the studio just like, oh my god, oh my god, oh my god, Mario's on my hand. He's on my hand. He's on my hand. And then it all fades away and disappears again. And then slowly we're getting to a point where, no, this is viable. This should be used more regularly. Same with VR. Yeah. It just needs a little bit of refining. We're definitely getting there, but the scope is insane.
Yeah, and same with AI, the possibilities there of just now with Chat GPT, what if you put that in a game and it can automatically interact with you in real time, which is a scary thought, especially for horror games.
As long as it doesn't take our jobs, it can make horror games for me, that's fine.
It's going to take mine in no time. So.
Okay. So if there were someone out there listening to this interview, especially considering you guys have come from other industries entirely into video games, what advice would you give to people wanting to get into the industry? Ian?
Make stuff. One of the things I've been doing recently is interviews with people. And the first thing I do is go look at their portfolio. I don't necessarily look at their grades. I don't necessarily look at stuff like that. I look at what they're making and does it gel with what we're looking for. And so you don't have to go to the most expensive school. You don't have to have the most expensive kit. If the core of what you're doing is what we're looking for, then that's really interesting. So everyone can go make a portfolio. There's plenty of sites out there that are free. And now we got things like Unity and Unreal, which are free. You can go download them. You can go start building stuff. You can go start making stuff. There's tons of resources online. I mean, universities and stuff can help give you direction. They can give you some industry standards. So it's not a bad thing to go to university, but it's not like an absolute essential.
Yeah, not vital.
And that's the first thing we look at. You know, what are you making? What drives you? What do you do in your own time as a passion project?
Yeah.
And so I had an interview the other week. Apologize for the bad graphics, but I wasn't looking for an artist. You know, I was looking for a designer. But what they're designed with their very rudimentary blocky graphics was cool, and it really fit in a lot of stuff that we've been playing around with. And I thought, this guy is worth checking out, because that's the kind of thing he's going to be doing if he joins here. So, a portfolio is a really important thing. And the other thing I'd say, having gone through the hiring process a few years back, is just don't give up. You will get rejected. I got rejected from so many places. And sometimes you know why, sometimes you don't know why, but it can get you down after a while. But don't let it.
Yeah,
just
find a
keep
way
going.
to make it a learning experience.
Exactly. If you can get feedback as to why you weren't quite the right person, that's great, because then you can fold it into the next one, and you can maybe make your presentation or yourself better. But don't give up. Keep working at what you enjoy. Don't give up, and eventually
advice.
Someone will be gullible enough, like Supermassive, to give someone like me a job. And
we tricked them.
And the rest is history.
Yeah.
And again, harking back to something that you mentioned before, the team feeling that you have, that is because you're all super passionate about something that is not necessarily the game you're working on right now, although of course you are all passionate about that, but it's video games as a whole. So of course everyone loves coming in, and I feel like the industry runs on that passion. So if you are prospective, just be really enthusiastic about what you're doing. Show that, show your mistakes, show the routes that you've taken, but just get across how much you love it, essentially, is a huge part of it.
Yeah, I think it helps if you enjoy what you do at work, it really helps.
Yeah.
My uncle was a diamond driller, hated going to work. It's hard work every day, and I watched him get up and thought, I don't want to do that. And so that's why I'm here eventually, because now, every day doesn't feel like a chore to get out of bed.
Progress.
Love it. And honestly, you said everything I was going to say about making games.
Add something.
And just, keep at it. But I'd say that just know that it's not always you, too. Like, I know people beat themselves up, like, I can't get a job in the industry. But honestly, almost everyone that I know who works here, they've had other jobs. Like, I had to work at Apple and other companies that I was just like, and not the glamorous Apple. It was in the store getting yelled at customers.
You were genius.
I was. Don't put that in me. Yeah. It's going to come up here, Matthew.
Genius.
Allegedly.
1-time genius.
Yeah, at one point genius, then demoted to Supermassive designer. But I would say that there's so many interviews I went on, and just getting rejection after rejection. Just enjoy the journey. Make your own games, write your own interactive fiction if you're a narrative designer. Don't let someone else be in control of your happiness or what you're doing in life.
I love that.
Yeah.
I love that. All right, well, we'll end on our final and most important question. Favorite Guildford game?
See, I've got two.
Okay,
I've got
we'll
two
take two.
that vie for it. And it was, one of them was, these are old, so most people will be watching this going, what? I've never heard of that thing. Fire Warrior, which was the first-person shooter set in Warhammer that I ever played.
Oh, man.
And it was on the PS2. It was a cracking game, and it had all this cool, Warhammer lore embedded in it. It was strictly for nerds, and I still play that game now.
Brilliant.
I've got the good old games version of it, and every now and again I'll dust it off and play. It's just so fun.
Fab.
And then the other one that I've lost track of how many times I played it was another first-person shooter called Black.
Oh.
And the gun feel for a PS2 game as well. The gun feel in that game, the fact that you could shoot the wall and it would crumble and you could destroy. That game is so fun. I love playing that. The gun feel in that game is.
I worked on the ill-fated spiritual successor to that game, Body Count, which had the shreddable, had like loads of really cool guns, had all of the other stuff. Didn't have Stuart. And
I have played that a couple of times.
Have you?
Yeah, I got it on PS3 still. Yeah, I've played that a few times.
Oh man, it's my, I think it was a 57 Metacritic. Happy days. 53. Happy days.
Whoever made that mission though, where you have to go do the bombs and you're getting shot
Yeah,
at the same
yeah,
time.
yeah.
If you know that person, can you just slap them next
Yeah,
time?
I
Because
can.
the amount of swear words that has elicited from me.
That could have been her.
Oh God, no! Don't worry, I'm nowhere near as technical to be dealing
But
with
it's
that.
still quite good, but black, especially for
black
the
is
time
cool.
when it came out, it
Yeah.
was just such
Agreed.
an experience far above
Agreed.
what else was on the system at that time. It was still sticks with me now.
Trailblazers. Matthew.
This is going to sound like a plant and really cheesy, but it's Supermassive Games.
That's okay.
That, I loved Until Dawn and House of Ashes. Those are probably my two favorite ones. Apart from Supermassive, probably No Man's Sky is also Guildford.Games, which is, that kind of, it seems like a lone man working in a basement type thing, but amazing game. And
Yeah. Well, the
and I
team
gonna
was
say,
so
it's not-
small when they
Yeah.
initially made that game. I mean,
Yeah.
they're not a huge amount bigger now.
15, isn't it? Right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Now they're about 40, I reckon. But then, about
Yeah,
15.
it was
Just
lone
one
men and
room.
women who made that game, and then now it's
yeah.
it's growing, and it's exciting that
Yeah.
such widespread games are getting made here.
You're right though. I should have said Devil in Me, shouldn't I?
You should have,
without missing a beat.
there's
We'll
gonna be a
just,
talk
we've got
later.
it from
There's
there.
gonna
We'll
be-
just
yeah.
add it and
But I do
post
love
over
the
the
Devil
top
in Me
of
because
everything
I've worked on all the DP, all the dark pictures so far, and Devil in Me was my. I really like that one.
So you should.
Yeah, I thought there was some cool stuff in there.
It was pretty good.
I heard the designer on that game was really cool.
He was amazing. Yeah, incredibly handsome, so charismatic. Yeah, he was
The advanced designer, though. I'm
that
not so
one.
sure
Yeah,
about.
that's why he got advanced. Yeah.
Guys, thank you so much for taking time out
you.
of your busy days to come and talk to us. And hopefully you'll all get to your meetings on time if I've been restrained enough.
No. Well, thank
Oh,
you.
you better run, Matt.
Yeah.